Uh, all right. The Companionship of the Cat and the Mouse. Read by Laurie Adams. Take 1. Take 3. The Companionship of the Cat and the Mouse. Read by Laurie Adams. Take 15. A cat had made the acquaintanceship of a mouse, and had talked so much about his great love and friendship for her, that he eventually convinced her to live in the same house and set up a common household. "But we must get supplies for the winter," said the cat, "or else we'll starve. A little mouse like you can't venture just anywhere, for one of these days you might get caught in a trap." They acted on his good advice and bought a little jar of fat, but they did not know where to put it. Finally, after long deliberation, the cat said, "I can't think of a safer place than the church. No one would dare take anything away from there. Let's put it under the altar, and we won't touch it unless we really need it." The little jar was safely stored away, but it was not long before the cat felt a craving for it and said to the mouse, "I've been meaning to tell you, little mouse. My cousin gave birth to a baby boy, white with brown spots, and I've been asked to be godfather. I'm to hold him at the christening. Would you mind letting me go out today and looking after the house by yourself?" "No, of course not," answered the mouse. "Go, for God's sake. If you get something good to eat, think of me. I sure would like to have a drink of that sweet red christening wine." Naturally, none of what the cat had said was true. He did not have a cousin, nor had he been asked to be godfather. He went straight to the church, crept to the little jar of fat, and began licking and licking until he had licked the skin off the top. Then he strolled over the roofs of the city and contemplated his opportunities. After a while, he stretched himself out in the sun and wiped his whiskers whenever he thought about that little jar of fat. It was not until evening that he returned home. "Well, you're back," the mouse said. "I'm sure you had a wonderful day." "It wasn't bad," the cat responded. "What name did they give the child?" the mouse asked. "Skin off," the cat said dryly. "Skin off?" exclaimed the mouse. "That's a strange and unusual name. Is it common in your family?" "What's there to it?" the cat said. "It's no worse than Crumb Thief, as your godchildren are called." Shortly after that, the cat felt another great craving, and said to the mouse, "You've got to do me a favor again and look after the house by yourself. I've been asked to be godfather once more, and since the child has a white ring around his neck, I can't refuse." The good mouse consented, and the cat went slinking behind the city wall to the church, where he ate up half the jar of fat. "Nothing tastes better," he said, "than what you eat yourself." And he was very satisfied with his day's work. When he returned, the mouse asked, "What was this child christened?" "Half gone," answered the cat. "Half gone? You don't say! I've never heard of such a name in all my life. I'll bet it's not on the list of proper names." Soon the cat's mouth began watering once more for the delicacy. "All good things come in threes," he said to the mouse. "I've been asked to be godfather again. This child's all black and has white paws. Aside from that, there's not a white hair on his body. That only happens once every few years. You'll let me go, won't you?" "Skin off, half gone," the mouse responded. "Those are really curious names. I'm beginning to wonder about them." "Look, you can sit at home in your dark gray fur coat and your long pigtail," the cat said, "and you begin imagining things. That's because you don't go out during the day." While the cat was gone, the mouse cleaned the house and put it in order. Meanwhile, the greedy cat ate up the rest of the jar. "It's only after everything's all gone," the cat said to himself, "that you can really begin to rest." It was very late at night by the time the cat returned home, and he was fat and stuffed. The mouse asked right away what name had been given to the third child. "You won't like this one either," the cat said. "It's all gone." "All gone!" exclaimed the mouse. "That's the most suspicious of all the names. I've never seen it in print. All gone! What's it supposed to mean?" She shook her head, rolled herself up into a ball, and fell asleep. From then on, no one asked the cat to be a godfather. But when winter came and there was nothing more to be found outside, the mouse thought about their supply of fat and said, "Come, cat, let's go to our jar that we've been saving. It'll taste good." "Yes," said the cat, "you'll enjoy the taste just as much if you stuck your dainty tongue out the window." They set out on their way, but when they got there, the jar of fat was still in its place, but it was empty. "Oh," said the mouse, "now I know what's happened. It's as clear as day. Some nice friend you are. You ate it all up when you went to be a godfather. First the skin, then half, then—" "You better be quiet," yelled the cat. "One more word and I'll eat you up." All gone was already on the tip of the mouse's tongue. No sooner did she say it than the cat jumped on her, grabbed her, and devoured her. You see, that's the way of the world. That'll do, I guess. My back's killing me, though. Gotta get this edited and sent off. So, listening back to the recording, it's still not perfect. I guess I'll have to do more takes, but not tonight. I've been stuttering a lot more lately, and reading aloud is still stupid hard. Thankfully, Fish should be back home soon. She'll be able to tell me whether or not it's an okay take, I think. Take 1 of The Farmer and the Warbler, read by Laurie Adams. Once upon a time, in a land closer than any of us might Take 12 of The Farmer and the Warbler, read by Laurie Adams. Once upon a time, in a land closer than any of us might like, there was sky. Sky that went on for miles and miles. Sky the milky color of cataract. Sky you could choke on. There were many things under this looming infinity of clouds, but there is only time enough in this story for one. A thicket, more precisely one comprised of berry bushes. You know the sort, the kind you spot on a long hike or a narrow trail, and consider plucking from before your mind gets the better of you, for fear of poison. Picture it, if you will. No, try again. The berries are darker than that, the thorns sharper. Right, there you are. The thicket surrounds a clearing in a tight circle, with winding trees woven through it whose canopy of leaves block out all but slivers of sun. In this clearing is a woman. She's curled up there, shrouded by a pair of tattered wings. She's larger than a woman, or any human for that matter should be. Beneath her wings lies a bulging sternum, to allow for an odd set of lungs that would threaten to burst in any chest like yours or mine. Her arms bend at odd angles, her legs short and with a lack of any tailbone. She is curled there, she is ugly, for she is unknown to us and she wails. It is nearing noon, though she would have no way of knowing this. It is at this approximate time, though, that each day she crawls to the thicket and begins to worm her way through. Scratches and cuts litter and linger on her skin from yesterday and many a day before, but she ignores the way they catch on thorn and reopen to the biting air. Ignores the trickling trickle of red everywhere she can still feel. Because today is the day, she's sure of it. She's going to make it through. She'll come out on the other side, torn and tired, but wilted wings still raising to flight. To feel that air beneath them would be to know true bliss. Still, she's aimless in her endeavor. She can only feel in front of her, cling to the dirt and to branch and to swat away the swarming insects that live between the leaves and settle on her skin. She marks them on occasion and cannot see the smear of gut and brown they leave upon her. Her sight was long since robbed from her. The thorns had sought her eyes, spiteful for the way she'd longed to escape the home they'd made for her. And if it hadn't been the poke, it'd have been the venom. And yet she pushes on through this impossibly thick jungle of a berry bush. She makes it not even a third's way mark before she collapses into herself. It's 2 o'clock, perhaps, when she wakes again, and finds herself in the center of the clearing, no further away from this prison than when she'd started. She's glad for the size of her lungs when they allow her the breath to properly scream them out. If I might redirect your attention, dear reader, I ask you to imagine with me a cottage. For not far from this thicket and its accompanying clearing there lives a farmer. The winter had not been kind to his crops, nor the drought that had followed it come spring, and what little livestock he'd kept in the barn out back fared no better. The cabinets are filled only with dishes and the occasional tin can. He stares numbly at the holes in his rotting wooden floorboards. Hunger laces every dusty windowsill, every rusty nail, the sparse closet, and the achingly bare kitchen as hollow as his stomach. He'd had coins stocked in the great lockbox, hidden in the loose backing panel of a dresser. This had gotten him along for a while. The prices at the marketplace are forgiving if you know where to look, and he's practiced enough to bargain if he paints a sympathetic picture. His stomach would be sated with apples that might have once been crisp, and loaves of near-molded sourdough. But the lockbox is near empty now, and the pit in his belly grows impatient. He can feel it fold and knot and kick at him, seeking satisfaction by eating away at itself with sharp teeth and an ever-unhinging jaw. He shudders at the thought, and more to know it will not cease until he's swallowed himself up completely, throbbing with the wholeness of it, and leaving nothing but a sigh of relief through a house that would then know what it means to be full. It's when he's taken his finger between his bared teeth that he hears the weeping song of a warbler from just beyond his door. His gut lurches at the sound of it. Go, it whispers. Go and be fed. And so he rises to weary feet, sheep wool shears from the mess of tools upon his table, now tucked into the back of his pants. To follow this warbler's cry is to follow the North Star to salvation, it seems, as his hunger reminds him in sweet growls that he will soon remember the warmth of meal-drunk content. How he aches for that small forgiveness. What one last small meal to a dying man might grant him some clear thought. And so he seeks it and nearly sobs with joy when he comes to the source of it. The thicket is foreboding, but no threat which he cannot face with the shears he unsheathes from his belt. He trims for what might have been hours or might have been days, but no difference is seen to him, just a sense of soonness and an excitement that bubbles up in him and threatens to spill out upon the final grinning snip. The warbler's song stops short, and his eyes fall upon the frame of what he doesn't dare call a woman. For what feels like an eternity, a heavy silence between them. She sees nothing, but the presence of another is hard to ignore. She reaches out to touch, to feel, to assure herself that this is no dream. She weeps upon the sound of approaching footsteps as the farmer crouches before her. No bird that had been, then, but you, wretched creature whose song has graced my ear. Not a song, sir, but a sorrow, for I could not free myself of this place. The farmer nods thoughtfully and rises up to clasp a hand on her shoulder. Come then, to your feet. I'll fix you up with bandages and salve to soothe your wounds. She clings to him and limps, wings dragging behind her as she guides them through the worst of the thicket and along the path to his cottage, a slow travel for how the thing's limbs fall so heavy they threaten to sink her through the very crust of the earth. Rest here, on my cot, and I will fetch the bandages, the farmer says, and so the winged woman lays upon the surface he sets her to. How stiff a cot, she thinks, but does not voice, for the farmer had saved her life, and she is in no position to complain for an uncomfortable bed. She hears the farmer return not long after, and shifts towards the sound of it. I really must thank you. It had been set in my mind that I would die there in that clearing. I should not let that happen, the farmer replies. To die there in your state is a fate I would not wish upon the worst of men. Then it is in your just mind to bring me from it, though I hold you under no obligation to treat what harm it's done to me. I should see you taken care of, for it would weigh on my conscience to leave you in this misery, he says. This is enough for her, and so she falls into sleep as the farmer tends to her cuts and takes a wet cloth to her wings. It's the heat that wakes her, barely licking at her toes, and then consuming the space around her, hotter every moment than it had been the moment before. If she had not worn her voice out from her earlier sorrow, she might have cried for help. She sees the oven door before her no more than she had seen the table she was set upon, nor the farmer rummaging for dough or seasoning her now searing skin. Where there is only hunger, a man must do with songbird pie. And so the sky waits above for wings that will not part it. A thicket begins to mend its sheer-cut path, and a winged woman howls as her flesh crispens for the chew of a starving man. And you, hiding under the blankets from the dark, pretend that this land is far, far away. The end.
Fuck it. I'm tired. That'll have to do for now. End recording.
Antecedently is written, voiced, and produced by Crow Strider. The Farmer and the Warbler was written by Kira Sobriquet. Thanks for listening.